Hello, friends from across the nation and around the world. I'm Martin, and you are listening to Dad's Anytime Stories, the podcast that takes some of my favorite works and reads them chapter by chapter. Today, we're going to continue with The Cards of Power, Volume 1 by me, Martin Gage, and I think we're on to Chapter 12. I'd like to dedicate this chapter to J.L. and Jeremiah, who originally suggested the idea for the story, where we travel to the mountain region and find an Arctic fox and a snow leopard. Thank you to both of you. If you like the podcast, please don't forget to rate it and review it on whatever platform you're listening on. It goes a really long way to other people finding it. And if you want ad-free episodes of this and all of the episodes from Dad's Bedtime Stories, and there's like almost 600, I should say, you can head on over to Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you get ad-free episodes of both of those podcasts. And if you just like the stories and want to check out more of my stories, you can do that at Dad's Bedtime Stories, available anywhere you get your podcasts. As I said, there's close to 600 as of the recording of this one. They're designed for bedtime mostly, but you might like them as well. Now, on to the chapter. Chapter 12, The Arctic Fox and the Ice Leopard. Carter woke up inside the log cabin, summoned, as always, from his trusty log cabin card. The space was familiar and cozy, a place that felt like home no matter where in the world or world region they were. He and Magnus sat down together for a warm breakfast at the wooden table. "Well, what would you like to do today?" Magnus asked between bites. "Obviously, I want to get more magic cards," Carter replied, already halfway through his toast. "I was thinking we'd head back to town and talk to the card shop owner, see if he has any leads." "That is a great idea," Magnus said. "That guy always knows what's happening." They cleaned up their dishes, stepped outside into the mountain air, and Carter recalled his cabin back into its card form. The wood of the cabin dissolved into glowing swirls, condensed into energy, and zipped neatly into his card core. Next, Carter summoned his magic wing card, and in moments, glistening energy wings unfurled from his back. With a leap, he took to the sky and floated back out of the cave. Magnus soared along beside him, using his own powerful wings. After exiting the cave, they flew high above the forest, the trees narrowing into a funnel shape that led all the way back to the gate of Turnaround Town. The air warmed with the rising sun, and soon they landed just outside the town gates, Carter dismissing his wings before stepping into the cobblestone streets. Turnaround Town was as bustling as ever. Colorful stalls, clinking bells, and swirling card energy lit up the plaza. Carter and Magnus made their way straight to the card shop, the place where the wise, gray-bearded shopkeeper always seemed to know what was going on. As they stepped inside, the bell above the door jingled, and the scent of parchment and a spark of magic filled the air. Shelves stretched all the way to the ceiling, each one packed with glowing, color-coded cards.
"Oh, welcome. I haven't seen you two here in a while," the shopkeeper said, emerging from behind the counter with a warm smile.
"Yeah," Carter said. "We were just wondering if you heard anything cool going on. Anything we should check out?"
"Well, there was one thing."
The shopkeeper hesitated, wringing his hands.
"It seems very dangerous. I don't know if I should tell someone so young and inexperienced, but—"
"Oh?" Carter leaned in.
Yes, I've heard word that up in the mountains There's some sort of unexplained and very powerful snowstorm. I believe it may have to do with a wild creature, or possibly a wild magic."
"That sounds really cool," Carter said.
"Cool indeed. Ice cold," the shopkeeper replied with a chuckle. "Do you have any winter gear?"
Carter blinked. Come to think of it, no. I've got my rock armor, though. Would that keep me warm?"
"Rock armor? Heavens, no!" The shopkeeper clucked his tongue. "You'll need something more like this."
He handed Carter a card with the image of a bundled-up figure in layered winter gear.
"This is a winter gear card. Here, take it. Just promise me, if you find anything interesting, bring it back to show me."
Carter grinned. Deal. They thanked the shopkeeper and headed back through town, out the gates and into the sky again. Magnus using his wings, Carter using the magic ones. They flew toward the mountains, following a narrow trail that wove between craggy cliffs and climbing ridges. The further they traveled, the colder the air became. Frost gathered on the rocks, snow dusted the trees. Eventually they spotted a spot on the mountaintop and descended to land. Carter stepped lightly onto the snow. "I think it's time for this card," he said, pulling out the winter gear card. He held it up and focused. The card dissolved into glowing threads of energy that spun around his body, reforming into a snug snowsuit lined with shimmering insulation. The moment it zipped itself into place, Carter felt perfectly warm. "This is great," he said, flexing his arm. "I wonder what kind of wild magic causes a storm like this."
"Meh," Magnus replied. "We'll find out soon enough."
With Carter bundled in his winter gear and Magnus by his side, the two pressed forward into the snow-covered mountains. The snowfall grew thicker with every step, swirling down from the sky in a chaotic dance that obscured their vision. Before long, the snowfall became so intense that Carter could no longer rely on his wings. Flight was impossible. They landed on a narrow path and looked ahead into a swirling white void. Any idea how we can get through this crazy snow?" Carter asked, squinting through the flurry.
"I do have one thought," Magnus replied.
The little dragon stepped forward and began to glow, the unmistakable sign of his transformation. His body expanded outward, stretching and growing until he reached his evolved form, a muscular, towering dragon, broad as a tree trunk, with rippling heat radiating from every part of him. The tip of his head lit up first, followed by both hands, his wings, and finally his tail. The heat around him intensified until Carter had to take a step back. The snow around Magnus began to melt in wide arcs, forming a sphere of warmth in the middle of the storm. "Oh," Carter said, watching the steam rise. "So that's the plan. Melt our way up the trail." As Magnus led the way up the path, the snow vanished in their wake. Even the falling flakes transformed into raindrops the moment they entered the sphere of heat. Carter walked behind him, grateful for the protection and clear path. But then they reached a wall. Ahead, the storm was no longer just swirling flakes. It had formed a solid wall of white, impenetrable, and strange. Carter could see hints of movement within it, but no light passed through. "Magnus? What could be causing this?"
It could be a creature," Magnus said, voice tense. "Or a wild magic. It's hard to say."
They crept closer. Magnus's warmth pushed forward into the wall of snow, but now it barely made a dent. The frost pushed back. The air chilled again, despite Magnus's blazing heat. "I don't think this is gonna work anymore," Magnus said. "Whatever this is, it's powerful." And just then, a flicker of blue light flashed through the storm. Carter turned, eyes narrowing, trying to track it. A blur moved across the snow and stopped a few feet ahead. It was a fox, an arctic white creature with eyes that glowed an icy blue. Its paws shimmered with frost, and every step it took left a layer of ice on the ground. As Carter watched, the fox darted to the left, then to the right, almost skating across the icy surface. Then it leapt into the air, performing a tight spin. While still spinning in the air, energy gathered around it. Shards of blue ice shot forward like blades. Carter reacted instantly, summoning his rock armor with a surge of focus. The shards shattered harmlessly against his armored limbs. Magnus took to the air and unleashed a plume of fire, roaring toward the fox. But the fox twisted midair again. The flames curled away as if deflected by the spin. The creature landed unharmed. "I think we can handle this thing," Magnus said, confident, if slightly annoyed. But then another flicker of light. A second shape stepped out from the snow. This one was bigger, more like a snow leopard, sleek and powerful with white fur speckled with black and the same glowing blue eyes and frost-covered paws. Carter's eyes widened. "There's 2 of them now." The fox and leopard began circling, skating effortlessly across the snowy battlefield, their movements synchronized and fast. Carter and Magnus stood back to back. Carter summoned his energy shield and energy sword, holding them at the ready. "Oh, we need more fire," he muttered, already reaching into his pocket. 2 cards slid into his palm, the Fire Panda and the Fire Wombat. He summoned both. The 2 creatures appeared in flashes of red-orange light, their fur already flickering with heat. At the sight of them, the fox and leopard attacked again, this time in a flurry of icy shards. Carter leapt between them and the fire creatures, swinging his energy sword and smashing his shards of ice apart. Meanwhile, Magnus, the panda, and the wombat moved into position. They stood shoulder to shoulder, back to back, and began to glow. The temperature surged. The snow melted in wide circles. Heat rolled through the air. Flames wrapped around the trio, and soon a swirling dome of fire surrounded them. The fire dome grew, swirling outward in waves until it erupted like a fiery shockwave, slamming into the Arctic fox and snow leopard. The 2 ice creatures tumbled backward, tried to rise, and then collapsed, defeated. Carter walked over, stepping carefully through the slush and steam. He reached out toward each creature, letting the energy flow from his card core. Their icy auras sent shivers up his arms, but soon each one transformed, glowing blue, then dissolving into swirls of energy, then reformed as cards. He held up the 2 new cards. Arctic Fox, powerful ice-based fox capable of rapid movements and ranged freezing attacks. Ice Leopard, powerful ice-based leopard capable of rapid movements and ranged freeze attacks. He slid them into his pocket, glancing at the dome of heat that still surrounded them. The wall of snow still loomed. "It wasn't them," Carter said. Magnus nodded. "Nope, something else is going on here." The moment Magnus spoke, the storm reacted. The wall of snow pushed inward, surrounding the ring of warmth with renewed force. Snow piled high on every side, and the howling winds returned, now with icy needles riding their gusts. Then, high above, a strange blue glow appeared. A pulse of light flickered once, twice, and then, without warning, a cluster of razor-sharp icicles rained down from the sky. They slammed into the fire dome, sizzling into mist as the heat melted the mid-air, but they kept coming. "It's above us," Carter said, staring into the sky. "There's something up there, a core." "It has to be a wild magic," Magnus said. "If we want to stop this, we'll have to hit it with everything we've got." Carter's mind went to his card core. He started to mentally flip through the deck, thinking quickly what else could help. The lightning tiger, it wasn't fire, but lightning had heat. The elemental unicorn, temperamental but incredibly powerful. And of course, the everything dragon, a wild card in every sense of the word. "Worth a shot," he muttered. He pulled all 3 cards and summoned them. With 3 flashes of energy, the creatures emerged. The lightning tiger growled low and crackled with static. The elemental unicorn tossed its horn arrogantly. The everything dragon, it yawned. Carter addressed them all. "All right, listen up. There's some kind of storm core up there. I don't know what it is, but we're gonna hit it with every ounce of fire and heat we've got." The fire creatures nodded immediately. The unicorn blinked slowly. The everything dragon scratched behind its ear with one wing. Magnus didn't wait. He gathered energy in every limb, flames flaring from his head, wings, tail, and even the center of his chest. Then, in one mighty roar, he launched a massive beam of fire straight toward the glowing blue core above. The fire streaked skyward, colliding with the storm. Orange and red met pale blue, and for the first time, the sky flickered. Next came the Fire Panda and the Fire Wombat, each adding their own beams of flame. The lightning tiger snarled and sent a bolt of white-hot lightning crashing upward. Then finally, perhaps just because they were bored, the elemental unicorn and everything dragon joined in, adding a brilliant golden and rainbow-hued streams of elemental energy. The beams merged into a single cyclone of heat and color, drilling into the storm core above. The clouds swirled and shook, the snowfall slowed, the wind weakened. Then, a final flash of white-blue light exploded overhead. The snowstorm vanished in an instant. A glowing orb of icy energy plummeted from the sky, crashing into the snow near Carter's feet. He rushed over, skidding to a stop in front of the impact site. Snow steamed around the crater, revealing a perfect sphere of shimmering blue light, dense with swirling power. Magnus stepped forward warily. "That's a wild magic. Be careful." Carter knelt beside it and extended his hand. The energy pulsed, sharp and cold, as though made from frozen lightning. His fingers brushed its surface, and he focused. His card core activated, drawing the energy inward. The orb trembled, then dissolved into particles, spiraling upward before reshaping into a card. Carter caught it. Legendary Snowstorm. Summon a legendary snowstorm to protect your allies or freeze your enemies. Cool, Carter said with a smirk. He tucked the card away and turned to the group. Thanks, everyone. That was awesome. He summoned the creatures back into their card forms, each vanishing in a flash of light, except Magnus, of course, who preferred staying free. The air had cleared completely. Above them stretched a brilliant blue sky, the mountain top basking in sunlight. "Well," Carter said, hands on his hips, "nothing like camping at the top of a mountain." "It's kind of beautiful up here," Magnus admitted, glancing around at the snow-covered peaks. "Still, cold, though." "Yeah, but not blizzard-level cold." Carter pulled out his log cabin card. With a shimmer of warm light, the small wooden building appeared beside them. The door creaked open invitingly. They stepped inside.